This week on the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus, we salute the greatest musicians whose music you've heard many times and you probably totally love, but whose names you don't know. These are the ghost players who make your favorite songs and albums rock. You're listening to the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus, changing rock history one podcast at a time. Welcome back, everybody. Loudini Rock and Roll Circus back at you. This week we are closing in on the big Christmas holiday here in about a week, right? About a week from today will be Christmas Eve. And we're getting a special Christmas show coming up for you. We are going to be here Christmas Eve. So if like you're sick of your relatives and all that crap, you know, you've eaten yourself sick, tune in to the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus on all the Facebook, Periscope, YouTube. We're going to go live. We're going to record just like we always do, and we're going to have a big end-of-the-year blowout. We will not be doing a podcast the week after. So this is your chance. You're not going to see us till next year if you don't see us next week, okay? LoudiniRockandRollCircus.com is our website. It's all kind of cool stuff there. Check it out. Shout out to our good friends at Wolf's Customs. They do amazing custom guitar painting. So it's like, you know, you can get up on stage. I know a lot of people that listen to us. John Fox, a lot of the people that listen to us that love our music or love our podcast are musicians themselves. We have that sort of appeal. And so you guys out there, if you know, why would you get on stage with the same type looking guitar that the next guy did? You know, make yourself stand out. It's about putting on a show, guys. So get on stage with a really badass custom paint job on your guitar. Chris Thunderwolf Dodson does a great job. Just go to wolfscustoms.online and you can see some great examples. But he will really do kind of anything you want. We are working on one for a Les Paul special that I have, and I'm really excited. We're going to do this next year. I think and I'm really going to be really excited to show it to you guys. So go to wolfscustoms.online to check that out. And I have to give a giant shout. This year has been so much fun, especially because of John and Gigi at Rock Rage Radio. Those guys took a chance on us after a lot of begging and pleading. Can we please be on your radio station? And they have really embraced the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus. I am insanely grateful for that. I know Lily is too. Speaking of Lily,
hi.
We have Lily V6 with us tonight.
Sort of. I'm sort of here.
Sort of here.
I'm kind of
Lily got the party started, a few hours ago.
I started at 1 because my work had a party, and they forced me to drink. Sorry,
of course.
They forced me.
Yeah, see, the great thing is when we go full-time in rock and roll, it's like it's a part of the job description is to party, getting paid to party. That's why people want to be in this business. That's really why. It did all this, like, I got to express myself. No, don't believe it.
We're there to party.
Yeah. Just look at Vince Neil's body. I can't say anything more after that. But anyways, guys, it is the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus. Our website's LoudiniRockandRollCircus.com. We have some great bands for you guys tonight. I am really excited because we've got Martin Anderson's latest project up here, Blindstone. They just put out a record. I just came out maybe just a couple of days ago on Grooveyard Records. The Loudini Rock and Roll Circus has been a big fan of Grooveyard Records for a long time. If you don't know what they're, just do a search on YouTube. They have tons of bands, and if you love that great guitar-driven kind of more like on the bluesy side of heavy rock, they've got tons of bands like Motor Gun and just amazing. Motor Gun isn't a great name, but we're gonna play Blindstone tonight. We've got Lou Lombardi Strangelove coming up, as well as Reign of Z and Eve to Adam. So it's going to be a great show. before I do anything else, I have to let all you guys know out there that you're watching or having a good time, hit that share button, because if you love the music and you want to help do your part to, people are going like, where's the good music? Share it, and all your friends will think how cool you are because you're on the in crowd here with the really cool stuff. So let's go get started. We're going to come back and talk about our tonight's topic, these ghost musicians, but I'd like to get things, get you guys warmed up with some great tunes. So this is World of Trouble, Blindstone on the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus. I love Martin Anderson's guitar playing, and that record does not disappoint at all. I listened to the whole thing today. It's the latest album from Blindstone, and you guys can find I think the best way to hook up with these guys is through Facebook. I know Facebook's a little slow, and I'm finding that Instagram is a lot better for. I feel like I'm looking up or something on this stupid camera, and that doesn't look right either. Sorry. But in any case, for these guys, I think the best thing to do is to go to facebook.com/blindstone.official. But again, if you just go to Grooveyard Records, their record is there. You can get everything. And of course, we streaming right from Spotify. So if you're doing the Spotify thing, then boom goes the dynamite, right, Lily?
There it is. That's my favorite.
Okay,
thing.
so let's get into tonight's topic. Okay, we just blah blah blah. Okay,
Yucky
getting straight
schmacky.
out here, getting yacky schmacky. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go drink my chalky milk and eat my chicken nuggies.
Stop.
With Baby Yoda.
With the Baby Yoda shit.
I love Baby Yoda. I cannot get enough. I watched Chapter 7 last night. I was like crying. Baby Yoda. I love Baby Yoda.
Gizmo is cuter than Baby Yoda.
Hells no.
No, not hells no.
Hells
You're wrong.
no.
Does Baby Yoda sing?
Baby Yoda drinks chalky milk.
He's ridiculous.
He's awesome. He's ridiculously cute. Just insane. Heart-tuggingly cute. Like,
Mogwai
oh my God.
greater than Baby Yoda.
No.
Yes.
Baby Mogwai does not have the Force.
I don't care.
Well, he's like,
Mogwai is cuddlier.
Okay, so what do you
Anyway.
got? So we're talking about what we're going to hit a lot of different stuff tonight, because there's some people who are actually became famous as well, and who So we're going to touch on that a little bit. The main focus really tonight, guys, is these people that you listen to these riffs, you listen to these songs, you fall in love with them, but you don't really know who did this stuff. And a lot of these guys, it's like the same guys over and over and over. They're constantly popping up. And I think I have my own list. Lily's got her list. So Lily, we're going to let you go first, girl. What do you got?
I have Eddie Martinez.
Eddie Martinez.
Do you know who that is? No.
He's like Lance Lopez.
Alrighty. He's actually an American guitarist from New York City. His career spans over 40 years. He's worked with David Lee Roth on Crazy from the Heat, Run DMC on Run DMC and King of Rock, Robert Palmer, most notably on the song Simply Irresistible,
Yep.
Meatloaf, Bad Out of Hell 2, and Jim Steinman on other projects, who of course worked with Meatloaf as well. He played jazz guitar on Blondie's 1982 farewell concert in Toronto and accompanied Mick Jagger at Live Aid in 1985. And he does have his own solo albums he released in 1984 called No Lies. Album, not albums. Sorry.
He is like an amazing. Is he still alive?
I did not look that up.
Okay. I don't know if he's still around or not, but Eddie was really the guy that generated like a lot of those riffs for Run DMC. Mm-hmm. When they weren't doing the Aerosmith thing.
Right. Right,
And
yes.
what was cool about Run DMC was that was a band that wrote songs. They weren't one of these bands, other than the Aerosmith thing. For the most part, they came up with a lot of their own stuff, and Eddie Martinez was a big part of that. Mm-hmm. And I do have King of Rock
Nice.
on 45.
45
Yeah, on
even.
45.
Nice.
Oh yeah, I heard that. I'm like, I got to get this now. It's just killer just to hear that, because it was very soulful to hear. Because rap, hip hop, funk, that it all comes out of that soulful kind of tradition. And with that heavy guitar, and Eddie's tone was just sick. And of course, he does an insane job on his work with Robert Palmer as well. So yeah, good.
Well,
choice.
everybody knows that song, that one song. If you don't know who Robert Palmer is, you know who the one song. Like, you know the one song.
Addicted to Love. I think it's on
Simply
Addicted to Love.
Irresistible.
Simply Irresistible. Those are big hits, and you guys know the videos, right? With all the girls in the really white makeup with the dark lips and the dresses all pantomiming on guitar.
Yes.
Yes. But that's that guitar work is Eddie Martinez. He's an amazing musician. So do you want to go back and forth? I don't know if
Yeah,
we have
that's
some of the
fine.
same people.
I only have, I think one other than you do. Two other.
You have two of them. Which ones do you have?
I have this one and this
You have Bernard.
one. No, the next one down.
Oh, you have Lukather. You have Luke. Let's save him for last.
Okay.
Because I know. So you go ahead again.
I counted, and I don't know if this is a count thing, but Flo and Eddie, the pop duo who did the Turtles, but
Okay.
they also worked with Mothers of Invention. They're not able to use their own names during that time, though, unfortunately, because of like contract obligations. But so they call themselves Flo and Eddie.
Okay.
After Zappa got hurt and the Mothers was out of commission for a while, they created their own albums. In the 70s, they were backing vocals for T-Rex for the song Bang a Gong specifically.
Wow, nice.
Alice Cooper on From the Inside, Flesh and the Fashion, and Zipper Catches Skin. And in 2010, they reconstructed the Turtles with those two, and they began performing live again, which I did not know that the Turtles were touring that time. They're probably not now. It's like 10
What
years
was the
later.
Turtles' big? So was this? It wasn't so happy together, was it?
Yeah, Happy Together.
Yeah. Okay.
That was their big song. 1967.
Wow.
It was way before my time. And your time, right?
We are going to be talking about some artists that all played on the same records.
Yeah.
And Lily's going to be talking about a bass player in a little while. I'm going to mention a drummer. And I mean, if Keith was here, he'd be make sure you say Bernard Purdie. Make sure you say Bernard. And there is rumors that Bernard Purdie actually is the drummer on a few Beatles tracks. We cannot confirm or deny. We don't know. But Bernard Purdie, most famous for what became known as the Purdie Shuffle. Now, do you know the song "Fool in the Rain" by Led Zeppelin?
Yeah, of course I do. Yeah. I love that
Do you
song.
know the song "Rosanna" by
Yeah,
Toto?
I just listened to it in the car.
Okay,
Yes.
right? It's the same drum beat. That beat was legendarily originated by Bernard Purdie. And so everybody just I
It's
did
kind of like a bass.
I did a show on Eddie Van Halen and the creation of two-hand tapping and all that. And Eddie's the guy that really popularized it. Did he invent it? Not. I mean, there was probably all kind of people that did two-hand tapping. And the same way with this type of shuffle, but Bernard was the guy that got it out there and made it really famous, and it's associated with him. So good for him. Oops, I'm all over the place here. Sorry. Let's go ahead and give. He was born in 1939. Began, hitting cans with sticks, at a young age. In 1961, moved from his hometown in Maryland to New York City. Played sessions with Mickey and Sylvia.
I love that.
Tons of stuff all over the world. And I'm going to go ahead and give you some of the records that he's been on.
Only a few.
Only a few. And
100.
Yeah. So we've got guys like Al Cooper, John Lee, Al Cooper, John Lee Hooker. Could you get any more farther apart? Insane. Herbie Mann. There's a lot of jazz stuff and things like that as well. Miles Davis, B.B. King, Steely. He's on a lot of Steely Dan stuff. They loved him, and they would get him to play. He's on the album Gaucho. Felix Pappalardi, who I believe was a member of Mountain. Herbie Hancock, Larry Coryell, who I interviewed for my podcast. Johnny Hammond Smith, Louis Armstrong,
Robert Palmer again.
Robert Palmer. Yeah, he's on that same record with Eddie Martinez. Hall and Oates, Aretha Franklin,
Bette Midler.
Bette Midler. This just Joe Cocker. I said cock.
Wow.
Just like it's just amazing and influenced tons of drummers as well. Worked with Mick Taylor. Just, one after another, very influential drummer. One of the and I mentioned Fool and Rain, and I mentioned Toto. Both the Porcaro and John Bonham were both influenced by Bernard Purdie. He was influenced by them. But Cat Stevens played
it's
on
quite
tons
the variety.
Yeah. He played all over the place on tons of records that you guys know and you've heard. And a lot of these guys ghosted and or have been on so many records that it's really hard to even have it compiled, because they started playing like in the 60s where there was no internet and they just got paid. You know what I mean? And went on. But he was also a band leader, and one of the sessions that he was a band leader on is Shaft.
Oh, nice. Nice.
So, it's, what can you, and I think we have some other people here that played on Shaft. I think we're going to be talking about a little bit later. So, Bernard Purdie, the Purdie Shuffle, the man himself, born 1939. He's 80 years old. He's the same age as my dad.
Oh.
So he's still out there.
He's still kicking.
Yeah, he's still kicking. Good for him. Worked with Jeff Beck as well. Amazing. So who do we got next there, Miss Lilith?
I'm going to pick a girl.
A Goyle.
So we're going to go with Lisa Fischer.
Lisa Fischer.
Backing vocalist who she didn't really get like the credit that she deserved. She was given a little infamy when the film 20 Feet from Stardom came out. She worked with Sting, Tina Turner, Shaka Khan, Luther Vandross, and Nine Inch Nails, both on the road and in the studio. She won a Grammy for Best Female R&B Vocalist in 1982. But the coolest thing is she has toured with the Rolling Stones since 1989, duetting with Mick Jagger on Gimme Shelter. So that's the lady singing Gimme Shelter.
Well, check that out.
So she's the lady who sings with Mick.
She's the Shelter lady. Okay, speaking of amazing female singers, we're going to play our next artist. I'm really trying to make sure we get everybody tonight. We are huge Reign of Z fans.
Yes.
Like even before Lily V6, when Keith and I were doing this, when Kevin and I were doing this, Reign of Z has been like a staple of the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus. Just one of those bands. I almost feel like there would be no Ludini Rock and Roll Circus without a handful of these different bands, and Reign of Z is definitely one of them. Highway 4, a few of them that really kind of got us started. We love this band, Reign of Z, Innocence. We're going to come right back and talk about some more of these great musicians whose music you know, but whose names you do not. Reign of Z, Innocence on the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus. Reign of Z, guys. The one and only Reign of Z. A great band.
She's got some killer vocals.
Yes. They put on a dynamite show, and hopefully that my band and their band we can work together, hopefully coming up in 2020. You want to go to reignofz.com. Very simple. Unlike some of these other bands Blindstone with all these like / period, if you have a band, simplify that URL. So when people like the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus or people on Rock Rage Radio, and because there's tons of other jocks on there and podcasts on, Gigi has got her own podcast. It makes it so much easier when you can just say reignofz.com. And people can remember it,
find you super
Just a
quick.
little bit of, just a little advice from your Uncle Louie, all right? Okay, so we are talking about these bands, or these musicians who are on everything, pretty much, but you don't know who they are. We want to kind of pay a little homage to them, give a little shout out to them, let everybody know. Speaking of shout outs, real quick, I want to give a shout out to Jim Spiller. Jim, thank you so much for popping in on the podcast. I hope you're feeling better, buddy. I know you're dealing with some shit. Carla Jean, my cousin, great to see you. Hope you're doing good. It was good seeing you guys a couple weeks ago at my dad's 80th party. It was a lot of fun. So some shout outs to you guys out there. So who's next on your list there, Lily girl?
Next on my list, and he's predominantly known for one other musician, but Scotty Moore. guitarist and recording engineer, best known for backing Elvis Presley for the beginning of his career between 1954 and the Hollywood years. Been credited with the invention of the power chording, especially on Jailhouse Rock. Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones is quoted saying, while he heard Heartbreak Hotel, that's what he wanted to do in life. Everybody else wanted to be Elvis, and he wanted to be Scotty. He is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, of course, the Musicians Hall of Fame, and the Memphis Music Hall of Fame. So he's pretty prominent, bro.
He's like one of the most important musicians ever. An amazing guitar player. He's gone through different periods. Is he still around? We should Google
I
him.
kind of feel like no.
No, but
let's
he went
look.
through different periods where he would retire, because he got sick of it, and then he would come back. He did that a couple of different times. Moody musician, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how we all are. But yeah, I really don't know what else to say about it.
No, he died in 2016.
Okay, but lived a
Lived a good
long.
long life.
Good
long
for him,
life.
kicking some ass. But yeah, I mean, just Elvis. Because of Elvis. I mean, it's like...
He's mostly known for Elvis.
Yeah, I mean, what can you say about that? I mean, that stuff is iconic, unbelievable. Influenced so many people, and not just Keith Richards, but Jeff Beck was a huge Scotty Moore fan.
And there it is.
I can see his face. Played with the Dixie Dregs, plays with Deep Purple now, played with Kansas for a while. Oh, what's his name?
Wow,
Steve Morse. Steve Morse has talked about how, Scotty Moore was a huge influence on him as well. So, yeah. So, when you hear those great Elvis tunes, you hear that amazing guitar work, that's the guitar playing that, like, laid the foundation for what everybody was going to do
rock.
in the next, 50 years. You should know who that guy is, Scotty Moore. I want to give a little thing to Dean Parks. No, Dean Parks is not the park in Dean County or wherever you live.
Wow.
No, Dean Parks is a session guitar player. And I'm going to read off the list.
Wait, he did Care Bears too? That's awesome. Sorry.
Tons of movies. Yeah, Care Bears 2.
Big Fat Greek
My
Wedding.
Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Days of
Days
Thunder?
of Thunder, Dying Young.
He's my new fan.
August Rush.
He's my new favorite.
August Rush is a movie about a kid who plays the guitar. It's interesting. But I'm just going to run it. We're just going to have a quick overview because there's too many. Worked with the band America, Bobby Bland, Michael Bublé. Another Joe Cocker guy. Worked with Joe Cocker. He's on a lot of Christian records too. He's on with Andre Crouch, Rita Coolidge, the Crusaders, Kenny Loggins. You guys remember a guy named Kenny Loggins? I don't know. Kenny Loggins, bunch of records with Lyle Lovett. Manhattan Transfer, Aaron Neville. I don't know much, but I know I love you. I know. Joe Sample is a jazz artist on a lot of Steely Dan records. Steely Dan, that was one of these bands that would like go and find like the best of the best of the best and bring them out and try to feature these guys. But Dean is on Pretzel Logic, Katie Lied, The Royal Scam, Asia, Two Against Nature, Johnny Rivers, Martin Gaye, Billy Joel, Stevie Wonder, Art Garfunkel, Martha Reeves, Carole King, Neil Sedaka, Stevie Wonder, Leo Sayer, Dolly Parton. Hopefully he didn't get hit in the head with a tit or anything like that.
Yeah, it could be dangerous.
Yeah. Barbara Streisand. Like Al Jarreau, Neil Diamond, Crosby, Stills and Nash. Melissa Manchester, Gordon Lightfoot, Michael Jackson,
Amy Grant,
Paul Simon, Donald Fagen,
everybody,
Chet Atkins, John Denver. It's just like Kenny Loggins and Kenny Rogers, the two Kennys, the two great Kennys of music. Right? What can you say? Randy Travis. So he's in some country records. Randy Travis,
Barry
Manilow, Stephanie Mills. It's just like Jackson Brown,
Celine Dion,
Michael McDonald, the other Doobie Brother, Linda Ronstadt,
Lionel Richie,
Martina McBride, Debbie Gibson.
80s. There it is.
I mean, Dean is just like Clint Black, Diane Shore, Don Henley.
Wow.
He's on Inside Job.
Oh, I love that song.
Yeah, it's just that album. Yeah, I mean, it's really just. So we could go on and on and on, but that's a guy who you probably, I'm
No
sure that
clues.
if you put any record, if you put a radio station on, you're going to hear Dean Parks playing on something.
But you just don't realize
You just don't realize that that's him. So yeah, so I remember when I got records as a kid, I was always curious who played, and I saw Dean. That was one of the guys whose names came up over and over and over was Dean Parks. And then another guy I'm going to mention in concert with Dean, because these guys work sessions together a lot, but I could not find the info on him, and I think because he's famous, so famous for his own songs, and that was Ray Parker Jr. Ray Parker Jr. was a session musician for a very long time, and he's on tons and tons of records before he ever broke as an artist with, Ghostbusters and all that jazz. So, anyway, so those guys kind of go hand to hand in my mind. I saw them on a lot of records together. Dean Parks. Okay, so who you got next?
I'm going to mention another lady, Carol Kay.
I know it was coming.
You didn't know.
Yes, I did.
Bassist session musician. She's got a 55-year career. She's played on about 10,000 recording sessions. River Deep, Mountain High with Ike and Tina. The Beach Boys' Pet Sounds. She was super into the Poppy Hooks and was also known for the Monkees' I'm a Believer, as well as the Righteous Brothers' You've Lost That Loving Feeling. And she really didn't have a limit
Never close your eyes.
to her style of playing. She also worked with Ray Charles and Simon and Garfunkel. She did a lot of things.
Played with everybody. Do you know the song I Got You, Babe?
Yeah, I know
Carol
that song.
Do you guys know the
She's
song
very-
The Beat Goes On?
Yes,
That bass line?
yes.
She wrote that.
She's awesome.
Yeah, she
Ladies
wrote that.
are awesome.
There's a great. We should mention this. There's a great documentary called The Wrecking Crew about about some of the people that are on the list we're talking about. You're gonna talk about that.
That's last because it's like everybody.
But you guys, we'll get into that a little bit later. But if you haven't seen that, Carol Kay is featured heavily in that. Also, all the guys in the Wrecking Crew were in love with Carol Kay because in '65 or whatever, she was a sweetheart.
Well, she's also a musician, which
Cute-
is kind of rare
Cute as F.
for women to be important in music
Exactly.
then. So,
Yeah.
and guys like that.
Yeah, I mean, it was one thing for girls to be like a singer or something, but she was a very serious bass player. And there's a funny video on YouTube of her giving a bass lesson to Gene Simmons.
That's awesome.
It's really good. If you haven't seen it, just go Carol Kay, Gene Simmons, and find it on YouTube. It's real short. It's very, it's wildly entertaining. Okay, who you got? You got somebody else? What do you want to talk about?
I got Hal Blaine.
Hal Blaine.
Drummer, Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, played with over 50 number one hits, over 150 top 10 songs, and over 35,000 production pieces. Worked with Frank Sinatra on Strangers in the Night, Simon and Garfunkel, Mrs. Robinson, The Fifth Dimension with Aquarius, Let the Sunshine In. Also worked with Elvis for Can't Help Falling in Love, and The Byrds, Mr. Tambourine Man, The Beach Boys, Good Vibrations, plus obviously a lot of other things. I didn't want to name them all, but he's very important in the drumming world of rock. He did a lot of things.
He did a lot of things. All kind of things.
I just named the things people would know
Did
for
some
sure.
Things
Like Aquarius.
So-
I kind of laughed at that.
It's the dawning of the age of Aquarius.
People laugh at that song. I think it's good. I don't care.
It's a fun song. A hairy ass, a hairy ass.
Oh my god.
Okay, let's get into. I'm going to give another like 2-for-1 situation here. Larry Carlton and Robin Ford.
Okay.
We've mentioned Steely Dan's name has come up many times. Both Larry Carlton was a Steely Dan favorite as well. Just like Dean Parks, he's on some of the same albums. He's on Katy Lied, The Royal Scam Asia. Very famous for the guitar solos, both the guitar solo in the middle and the outro solo to Kid Charlemagne, which are considered by guitarists like the two like the greatest guitar solos in rock, and they're in one song. It's unbelievable what he did. He is also the composer of the Hill Street Blues theme song, the song from the
Yeah, I know that.
from the which he won a Grammy for with Mike Post. they actually did a lot of other things. Wikipedia is really like weak on some of this stuff, but he's actually collaborated on a lot of this other stuff. He is the guitar player on the Magnum PI riff. He's the guitar player on the A-Team.
So TV shows.
Yeah,
for
he
sure.
did a lot of television work. Him and another guy named Robin Ford, who we're going to kind of talk about these guys together, were the like neck and neck highest paid session guitarists for many, 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 many years. There's been tons of articles written about them in different guitar player magazines with all the different work that they've done. Larry Carlton's, like I said, worked with Steely Dan's, worked with Joni Mitchell, John Stewart, not the John Stewart the singer, not John Stewart the
other guy.
Yeah, the other guy
who everybody knows
from the comedy show. Yeah. He's on Larry's the guitar player on Christopher Cross's Grammy Award winning debut album. He is on Michael Jackson's Off the Wall.
Nice.
Tons, just a lot of different stuff. Worked with David Pack from Ambrosia, but he's on a lot of stuff. If you look him up on Wiki, you're not even getting a small picture of what he did. The other guy I was mentioning is Robin Ford. Robin Ford's another guy who's on tons of these television shows. If you hear that very kind of sweet singing melodic type guitar solos, they're either Robin Ford generally or Larry Carlton. All that 80s stuff is those guys. But Robin worked with some of the same people. He worked with a lot of Ricky Lee Jones is like always picks like great musicians. So a lot of these guys played with Ricky Lee and Joni Mitchell as well. David Sanborn, Tom Scott, as
Kiss?
well as he played on Kiss albums. He's on Music from the Elder and Creatures of the Night. He was both Larry and Robin were ghost musicians. We should talk about this real quick. Actual ghost artists, ghost musicians are guys that play, but you think they don't tell you that those are the guys that play. They're uncredited. So you think it's the band that's playing. Gene Simmons talks about this extensively in Kiss and Make Up about how Peter Criss and Ace Frehley were so messed up on drugs that they would bring ghost players in. And I believe that Robin Ford and Larry Carlton are probably on more Kiss albums than anyone really knows. And there's a lot of other famous musicians that played on a lot of those records. But this was a very common thing to do because the label they wanted to give the illusion that the band that you were on the cover is the band that played the songs. And we're going to talk about the Wrecking Crew a little bit
later.
Yeah, a little bit later on. And that was an example. A lot of those guys were on a lot of sessions where nobody knew that they were on. They got paid, but nobody knew that
They didn't
were
get the
on.
credit.
And speaking of ghosting, I want to mention one other thing in terms of ghosting. And this guy is famous, but you don't know on a lot of records that he's on. And that is Duane Allman. Duane Allman was so in love with playing music. He was just so passionate about it that whenever the Allman Brothers had like a break, they had a day off or something like that, he would go to the closest recording studio and say, I want to play. Just let me play. And he got paid cash on a lot of stuff and was happy and never said anything. And he's on tons and tons of records. But the one that's most famous that came out, because it came out in the documentary about the Allman Brothers, is him working with Wilson Pickett on Wilson Pickett's version of Hey Jude. And there's this amazing thing at the end where they're trading off. Wilson's doing his thing and Duane is playing this amazing solo with him. And for many years, people did not know that was Duane Allman. So, he is one of these guys that snuck it in there because he was just so passionate about playing the guitar and he just wanted to do it. He was hungry, he was young. And I think that's a great credit to that type of, to a musician to be that hungry to play and want to play and to be able to be that versatile, to be on so many different kinds of records. So I just want to put those few together. Lily, why don't you do another one, and we should do some shout outs to some folks and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to do Pete Drake. He was, and I think he's very important, but he was a Nashville-based American record producer and pedal steel guitar player. He was very sought after back in the 1960s. He played on Lynn Anderson's Rose Garden, Charlie Rich's Behind Closed Doors, Bob Dylan's Lay Lady Lay, and Tammy Wynette's Stand By Your Man. But his innovative use of what would be called the talk box, later used by Peter Frampton, Joe Walsh, and Jeff Beck, added more novel effects to the pedal steel guitar. So he sort of made what the talk box is what it is today. And he also has his own album called Peter Drake and His Talking Steel Guitar. So, kind of a thing.
Speaking of country guys, is Glenn Campbell. He's
Yes.
on a lot of records too. Frank Sinatra's guitar player. A lot of people don't know that. Okay, so let's do who's watching. Let's go through some shout outs of people.
I have everybody on here. We have Charlie Doyle commenting on all the things. Bill Damiano, of course, Chris Thunderwolf and Raven. Diane Jones. Tim Paul says studio work around happens a lot. So he's talking about how all the studio work happens. And I lost a couple here, unfortunately, but Diane Swens was on there. Tracy Sampson was on there. Josh Monodoro was on there that I saw. And I think that's it.
We ran our post a couple days ago. I want to give a shout out to Tim Mitchell, who mentioned. Let's talk about this guy next, okay?
Yeah, he's on
Keith Hawkins. Thank you. Keith brought up Bernard Purdy. So did Andy Taravella. Jennifer Batten, who's was touring guitarist with Michael Jackson, as well as, and a lot of people mentioned Carol Kay. Carol Kay was on a lot of people's.
I didn't even see this list.
Yeah, it was on a lot of people's list. The Funk Brothers. If you have not seen the film, the documentary "Standing in the Shadows of Motown," get it. It's about the Funk Brothers who played on all the big Motown songs. So check that out. Steve Gadd is a guy that we haven't mentioned. Is Steve Gadd on your list?
No.
Steve Gadd's a drummer. He's on everything too. He's okay. Do you guys all know this is the sound check drum beat that every drummer uses? 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover by Paul Simon.
Yeah.
That's Steve Gadd.
Okay.
That's just one snippet. He's been. Speaking of guitar players, the other guy with Dean Parks, Larry Carlton, Robin Ford is Ray Parker Jr. is Jay Graydon. Jay Graydon is on stuff. He's on Steely Dan records as well. So thank Andy Taravella for bringing up Jay Graydon. Yeah, Terry Hanley, he and I got into the little discussion about the Funk Brothers. Great documentary if you haven't seen it. We are going to be bringing up Jeff Mazai's pick here in a minute. We're going to talk about Luke in a minute.
We can do that too.
Okay.
Leland and Luke.
We're going to Leland and Luke. So we're gonna. What do we want to do? We're gonna do. We're running.
Can we do a quick song?
Yeah, we'll do it. Well, we're gonna do one song, and then we're gonna come back. We're gonna wrap up.
We'll just
and we're gonna wrap it up. But we want to. When they come back, we're gonna talk about the sort of like triumvirate.
the big guys.
Yeah. So stick around. But this is Lou Lombardi, Strangelove, Pagan Mama. We're gonna be right back with some more great musicians.
After midnight, you went so
All right, Lou Lombardi, Strangelove. You go to loulombardimusic.com. Started the show with Blindstone. Jammed out a little Reign of Z. We are going to wrap up here in a minute with Eve to Adam. A couple people we need to mention. Let's talk about Leland.
Leland Sklar.
Oh, goodness.
That guy. Bass guitarist and session musician. Part of the instrumental group called The Section, who are also on the Asylum Records house band. Contributed to over 2,000 albums as a session musician, toured with Toto and other major pop acts as well.
Wait a minute. A lot of you guys, if you've ever watched, if you watch MTV,
I would hope.
Okay.
They did at one time.
He's the bass player with the long gray beard. Looks like Santa Claus. That's Leland Sklar.
He's also worked with Jackson Browne, Carole King, Phil Collins, James Taylor, Air Supply, America, the Bee Gees, blah, 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 all the things, if you want to continue.
Hoyt, Axton, Maureen McCormick, Reba McEntire. I mean,
so many people.
Yeah, I mean,
the albums and songs.
Do you
too.
guys know the song Susudio? You guys remember? There's Phil Collins fans out there.
I love that song.
People got a little burnt out.
I'm not a big Phil fan, but that's one of my songs.
But he's in the video.
Yeah.
Playing that freaking amazing Steinberger headless bass, and he's so laid back, and it just grooves so freaking hard. Somebody tell me who the drummer is on that record. We need to look that up because that rhythm section is just insane. Oh, it's probably Phil Collins,
probably
because he is a drummer. But yeah,
he's gonna yell at you for that.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Worked with Glenn Campbell, not Eric Cartman, Eric Carmen.
He did 9 to 5. Holy crap! With Dolly Parton. That's awesome.
Yeah, and the bass line on that is iconic. You know, that's absolutely David Cassidy. And then some indie artists, he worked with Sean Phillips, who's a artist who I really like, more of an indie acoustic kind of. Leonard Cohen. Jude Cole, Helen Reddy. You guys remember Helen Reddy?
Leanne Rimes for newer-ish.
Wow. Yeah, he's on we mentioned Phil Collins on No Jacket Required, but seriously, Serious Hits Live, Hits, and finally the first farewell tour. Rita Coolidge, Linda Ronstadt, Crosby and Nash, Crosby, Stills and Nash, Diana Ross.
So the theme I'm getting with all of these is they have very variety of people that they've worked with.
These are the kind of guys that can walk in anywhere and say,
just do it.
Yeah, just start. I'll play something, and it'll be good.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I'll make your song sound awesome. That's why these guys are. That's why this handful of guys show up over and over and over and over, because they can walk in and make your song sound great. Now, you can't talk about we can't talk about Leland Sklar without talking about Waddy Wachtel. Those two guys have worked together for many, many years. Waddy is a session guitarist player, but he's really known for being a touring backup guy. We were talking about videos. He's the guitarist in the Edge of 17 video.
Great.
With the long curly hair. He looks awesome. And it's one of the reasons I think people hire him too, because he just looks like a badass. He's got a great tone. He's a great guitar player. And those two guys, there's an interview on YouTube with those two guys together. They interview each other, and it's really fun. They talk about their years and years of touring and sessioning and everything like that. So if you haven't seen that, check that out. We need to mention, though, the other guy.
Steve Lukather.
This man.
The guy.
And a lot of people mentioned Luke over and over. That's the picture I used for the event, for the podcast event for this with Steve Lukather, because Steve Lukather, what hasn't Steve Lukather done?
He's done everything from Aretha to Warren Zevon.
He played with Urethra.
Yes, he has. Of course, he's like the continuous founding member of Toto.
Of course, yeah, Toto, of course.
Which is the most known he's done, because people don't really know. But he's recorded guitar tracks for over 1,500 albums. All the genres, Boz Scaggs, Michael Jackson's Thriller. He was on that.
He's the guy. He wrote. Okay, yes, Eddie Van Halen came in and played that solo, but that riff, that Steve, that's Luke. Mm-hmm. He wrote that.
Yeah,
and
he has 7 solo albums.
His solo albums. He's got great teaching videos. If you're a guitar player, you want to learn how to play better, which I have not. I haven't mentioned Jam Play. We'll mention that at the end. Elton John, Quincy Jones, Ricky Lee Jones again. Ricky Lee Jones just gets to the greatest people.
Loggins again.
Kenny Loggins again.
McDonald
again. McDonald. Okay, now We had to talk about. We cannot talk about. Physical was the top grossing single of the 1980s.
It really was.
And Steve Lukather plays the guitar solo on it.
And there it is.
And boom, goes to Dynamite.
What else can you say? Thriller and that.
Boz Scaggs, Kenny Rogers, Leo Sayer.
Just
there
everyone.
is a rumor that we were talking about ghosting. There's a rumor that She's a Beauty by the Tubes, that is actually Toto.
Really? Really?
That's not the Tubes.
I'm convinced already. So,
but I worked with Paul Anka, Stephen Bishops, John Anderson, Laura Branigan,
Clapton,
Eric Clapton, Eric Clapton, of course. Again, Jackson Brown, Rosemary. So he's worked with Michael Jackson and Rosemary Clooney.
He's obviously the most important person on the list.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So that's where we've got Don Henley. I also think that he is the guitarist, plays the guitar solo. And somebody tell me if I'm right or wrong that he's the guy that plays the solo on Dirty Laundry, which is a really interesting, very cool solo.
We have to check that out.
Well, we will double check that. Go to LouLombardiRocks.com. We're going to be continuing the party here in a minute in our inner circle, and we'll get a little deeper into stuff. And Lily's going to talk about her very interesting interview with Leif Garrett.
You'll want to hear about that.
Yeah, you'll definitely want to check that out. She said, I want to get your review of the book too.
Okay.
Because I know that you read the book, but and if you want to know, there's some great films about these guys, including The Wrecking Crew.
Yes.
Which is a film that I don't. It was on Netflix, but I'm not.
I don't know. I haven't had Netflix in a minute, so I don't know if it's.
I'm not sure if it's still on there. You want to get Standing in the Shadows of Motown. That's another one, and there was a one. Sideman. No.
Wow, that's not what you're looking for.
No, that's
at
not
all.
what I was looking for. Anyways, there's another one that deals a little bit more with touring musicians, guys like Liberty DeVito and people are and people like that are in it. And if you want to know the answer to that, you have to come over to our inner circle because we'll look that up and tell you what that is. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for hanging out. Lily, we'll go ahead and do your little plug-a-lugs.
Sure. My show's usually on Thursdays from 6 to 8. It was on tonight with the Leif Garrett interview. So if anybody really wants that, I can email you the interview because you're not going to hear it otherwise. Hot Licks with Lily 6 on Thursdays, Rock Rage Radio. I will be at the Subalpine on Saturday bartending, so come and give me all your money. It's also a good cause for, medical dogs. So do that. And that's all I got for now.
All righty. Wolf's Customs. Get yourself a custom job on your guitar. wolfscustoms.online. Shout out to Rock Rage Radio. Yes, we love Rock Rage Radio. They're great. rockrageradio.com. Just download the app and you can hear great guitar-driven rock all the time. All the time. You don't even have to just, it's just there. It's just there. You can just
and
turn
there
it
is.
on and boom
goes the dynamite.
A couple of things before we get out of here today. I have to do this real quick. Is a happy birthday to Alvin Lee, guitarist, vocalist for 10 Years After. Did pass away in 2013, but just an amazing guitar player. Happy birthday to Jimmy Bain, who worked with Rainbow, Dio, played on played with Phil Leno from Thin Lizzy. On this day in 1957, Elvis Presley had his draft notice served on him for the U.S. Army.
Yeah.
And this is a really important day. I have to mention this. I know we're running late, but I got to say this. In 1981, in 1981, now I'm going to mention ABBA. ABBA scored their 7th UK #1 album with The Visitors, the Swedish pop group's 8th and final studio album. Now check this, is so amazing.
I'm listening.
It was one of the first records to be recorded and mixed digitally and was the first in history to be manufactured on the new format called compact disc.
CD.
The first CD, ABBA, came out on this day in
awesome.
1981. So,
Talk about alphabetical order.
the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus salutes you, ABBA.
Wow,
Good for you, man, for
that's cool as
pioneering
hell.
some cool stuff. Love it. All right, guys, we're going to get the hell out of here. We're gonna rock out on the way out with a little bit of Eve to Adam. We opened the show with Blindstone. We had some Reign of Z, Lou Lombardi, Strangelove, Eve to Adam. Immortal is going to take us out. You guys have a great week, and Christmas Eve we will be here. If you're listening,
Tuesday.
you like the replays and stuff like that, get it. Go to social media. Just search Ludini Rock and Roll Circus. It's everywhere. Or find Lou Lombardi or Lily V6. And we're going to have an awesome party Christmas Eve live on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. It's going to be a great show. We are going to be discussing the best and the worst Christmas rock and metal songs. It's going to be fun. We're going to have a really good time. We'll be slurring our words,
That will
par
happen.
for the course.
So
All right,
just deal
guys,
with it.
have a great week. We'll catch you on the next Ludini Rock and Roll Circus.